Now what we suggest, if you will measure off the front of your bearing to the end of your shaft 8 1/4 inches, this will leave you enough room to slide your gearbox down into place properly. Before we do that, we're going to show you what Loctite to use to tighten your set screws on your flange bearing. Now that you're ready to tighten your set screws on your flange bearing, we recommend using a 222 Loctite. This will allow you easier access to your set screws when you get ready to break them loose. Then we're ready to install our gearbox. Now that we have our set screws on the flange bearing tight, the next step will be you have a tapered bushing assembly. Slide the first one on your shaft and then install your key, and now we're ready to slide the gearbox over the key and on the shaft. Now lower your gearbox down. Once you're slid into place, you can undo your chains. Now that you have your gearbox slid back to your anti-rotating angles, install your bolts and snug them. This will allow you access to move your gearbox back and forth when you get ready to line your motor coupler. Now that you have your bolts in your anti-rotating angle, install your front bushing, and you're ready to tighten the bushings in place.
I'm ready to go for it. A little bit.
Now that you have your tapered bushings tight, our next step will be to install the drain line. Now that we have our drain hose in place, we're ready now to put the front of our motor mounting plate on. We'll install our fan flange assembly, and then we'll put our plate in to put our motor on. So be sure to silicone your edges really good, the corners, this way to prevent water leakage. Now that you have the fan and flange assembly in place and your motor mounting plate bolted in, now we're ready to install our motor and line our flange assemblies up. Now that you've applied your silicone to the face of your plate, you're ready to move your motor over and bolt it into place. Okay, now that we have our motor bolted into place and snug, we're going to set our adjuster bolts into place. Now that we have everything set in place, the alignment of this coupler is going to be very important. To line your motor, you can raise your motor up to your front coupler, hold it up against the other one. You can use a flat tip screwdriver or a flat edge. You want that to be as smooth as possible. Once you have that in place, you can go to your side with your anti-rotating angles just snug. You can measure the sides. You want that side to be just like the top. You want it to be as smooth as possible. If it has to move one way or the other, you can bump your gearbox over until it's in that position. Once you have all the corners and the top in place, you can go ahead and tighten your anti-rotating angles down as tight as you can get them. Okay, now that we have our couplers lined up, we're ready to install our Paraflex element. Be sure to wipe any oil, dirt, or grease off of your clamps. When installing your clamp ring, just barely start your bolts, and once you do that, you're ready to slide your element in place. Okay, now squeeze your element together. And you'll want to tighten down 2 bolts on each side to hold your element in its place. Now that you have your element in place and your flange clamps snug, you're ready to seat your element. Take a hammer and peck your element. Okay, now that you've seated, you're ready to tighten your bolts up. Tighten them up in a circle to 130 inch-pounds. Now that you have your bolts torqued to the right specification, you're ready to set your gapping on the element. You'll need your gapping tool that is sent with the kit. Now that you have your gapping tool set in place, you're ready to tighten your set screws down on your flange coupler on your motor side. Now you're ready to tighten the ones down on the gearbox side. Now that you have your coupler properly set and tightened in place, you're ready to slide your fan over. Slide it over as close to the coupler as you can get it. Tighten your set screw down. And once you've completed that, then your fan coupler assembly process is finished.